The Attorney-General, Christian Porter, will today meet union and employer groups to help business prepare for the impact of coronavirus. Unions are demanding greater protection for workers who don't get paid sick leave so they can self-quarantine if needed. The Australian Chamber of Commerce says employers and governments need to work together.
We acknowledge casual workers, full-time workers, but also the businesses they work for. The small businesses are doing it tough, and we're going to have a lot of trouble keeping small business people in business. And when people aren't in business, when people are worried about shutting the doors, they're going to have a lot of difficulty paying some of their staff. So we don't want to panic. We support the government taking action to stimulate the economy, to look at keeping people in work, and we congratulate Minister Porter for getting us together and hopefully having a sensible conversation about areas where we can cooperate.
Let's go live to Sydney now. One of the men in that meeting this morning is Gerard Dwyer. He's the National Secretary of the Shoppers Union. Good to see you, Gerard. What are you asking for in this meeting this morning? What do you need government to do?
Well, we actually need government to fulfil their commitments to work together, work with business, work with unions, and if they're going to do that, the focus has got to be on these casuals. We've got almost a third of Australian workers who don't have access to paid sick leave. So we need a special paid leave as part of this package to keep this economy running. Casuals are an important part of the Australian economy. They're certainly an important part of the industry that I represent in retail. So retail workers who are casuals, they need to know that someone's got their back if they're called to self-isolate or if we have other arrangements throughout the workforce where casuals just aren't able to participate.
Well, do casuals have any access to sick leave at the moment under EBAs or any other form of agreement with their employers?
No. A casual contract by definition doesn't have access to sick leave, paid leave. They just don't have it. So in this situation, if someone is asked to self-isolate, they're going to be faced with the choice of, well, do I go to work so I can pay my bills, or do I stay at home and perhaps don't eat? I mean, this isn't a real choice for people. We need to make sure that they've got access to money until this virus crisis passes.
Anecdotally, are you getting feedback via the union that some people are doing this and therefore losing out on their wages, or are they going to work anyway?
Well, I think it's too early to tell at this point, but we know, the community is on notice that this is going to get worse before it gets better. We're obviously encouraging people, if they have got symptoms, they shouldn't go to work. But as I said, that's not a real choice if you haven't got access to paid leave. Government, business, we all need to step up to make sure that casuals working in this country, working in retail and fast food, which are big employers of casuals, actually have access to some form of paid leave.
OK, so you're saying government and business need to partner up here, but who really needs to shoulder and foot the bill for this special safety net you're asking for? Isn't it business responsibility? Isn't that of the employers, not taxpayers?
Well, certainly business has a responsibility here, but I know in our industry, the retail industry, we're one of the quiet achievers in the bushfire crisis. There has been a lot of hours paid in our industry where people were unable to work, and that's to be congratulated. Now, this is coming very quickly after a very bad summer. The Prime Minister says we're all in this together. We need to make sure that he lives up to that. I don't think any one sector can carry the whole burden here. It's got to be business, it's got to be government, it's got to be the whole community.
So what are you talking about here? Are you saying perhaps support for up to 2 weeks for casual workers, or more than that?
No, well, I think it's got to be at least the 2 weeks. I mean, medical authorities are telling us that the self-isolation, or if you go into quarantine, it's about a 2-week period.
What if you get coronavirus? What kind of support should be there?
Well, that again, we do need to make sure that where the victims are suffering directly from the virus, they too have access to ongoing money. That may turn into a form of compensation, like a workers' compensation payment, a sick leave benefit, but more importantly, I think, is the 14 days for the self-isolation that a lot of people are going to be asked to undertake. That's the first priority. Then we can move into other forms of support if people are ill and are off for more than 2 weeks.
Gerard Dwyer, National Secretary of the Shoppers Union, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.